Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Ah, yes. Beautiful Los Angeles. All right, fine.
Yes.
It's a lovely day today, isn't it? Really, yes. It's a fabulous start of the morning. How was your week, sir?
My week has been fantastic.
Has
How's
it?
your week?
Good. I was in Philadelphia this weekend at a convention, and people were very, very nice. It was, my God, the fans. There were so many people at this thing. It was just incredible. And you know who had some of the biggest lines were the actual wrestlers.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. Who was there wrestling-wise?
There was Paige, she was one of the divas. I don't know the other guys. Sting, I think his name was.
I've worked with a lot of them. That's why I was kind of curious who was in the mix.
Well, Paige is she's from kind of the north of England. She's a lovely girl. She's I've met her a couple of times, and she's very much that salt of the earth type of person. So I think it's very cool to sort of find those people. And there are a lot of other stars there. Doctor Who fans and Arrow fans. There's a lot of different people. So it was a busy weekend, busy. 4 days. I just got back and then came back to the kids being sick.
Fantastic. That's the way to work.
Isn't it just?
I'm glad to hear the fans in Philadelphia were nice, because that's the city where they infamously threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Did they really?
They did during an Eagles game, of course.
Wow.
City of
they were
brotherly
awesome.
love.
The fans there were awesome.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
But, back here now talking to you.
I know, that really is what everyone
This is what it is.
really wants to hear.
Yeah, now we've been talking for the past month on education, which actually was really cool. I don't even think we can actually finish as much topic as there was on education. And actually, I've got a couple of other guests that are going to be coming on soon. I spoke to Carrie Elways when I was at the convention. She's sitting right next to me. Carrie and I share, we have a couple of people in common. And one of them was Bob Anderson, who was the swordmaster on Princess Bride that he was in. He was the swordmaster in Highlander, and he was also the swordmaster in Star Wars. So the man was like a legend, and him and Peter Diamond, we both worked with them, and they both passed on since, so we've shared a lot of stories.
Was Peter Diamond on Highlander too?
Yes, Peter Diamond was. Yeah. Peter Diamond, he's a stunt coordinator.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. He was the original Tusken Raider.
There you go. He was the guy that was on the... Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
On the side of the... Yeah. So, Peter Diamond passed on. I worked with Peter Diamond, and lovely man. Lovely man. Very talented, as well as Bob Anderson. So we shared a lot of stories. So, Carrie said if you can break into his schedule over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll have him on the show as well. So we'll have some interesting people to see coming up. And starting this morning, we're going to be talking about children with disabilities. This month we're going to tackle the subject of children with disabilities, which do not discriminate. That can affect anyone, young or old, and it's often associated with a high cost of living, lost opportunities to earn income, and an increased chance of facing financial difficulties. However, with the advances of technology and raised awareness about physical and mental disabilities, more is being done to provide opportunities for disabled children to excel and in many cases learn to function independently as adults. Now, we're going to be having a guest on this morning. Many of you know him from American Idol, Season 10 Top 4. It's James Durbin. For those of you that don't know a lot about James, very talented. I actually saw the show when he was on. And he's 21 years old, actually, from Santa Cruz, California. He's a Californian!
Nice.
And he brought rock and roll back to the forefront. He's known for bringing heavy metal to the American Idol stage by performing Queen, which is obviously, I'm very aware of Queen, and Muse songs, and singing on stage with Judas Priest. Can you believe it? Judas Priest, wow. Can you imagine that?
Singing with Judas Priest?
Yeah, singing with Judas Priest is like kind of awesome.
Probably a good time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we'll ask him about that in a second. And he plays fourth overall. But James actually has a very interesting background because he was diagnosed with both Asperger's syndrome and Tourette syndrome when he was 10 years old. But as you saw on American Idol, he refused to be sidelined by medical hurdles and co-wrote 5 of the 11 songs on the standard edition of his debut Memoirs of a Beautiful Disaster, which you can find at www.durbinrock.com. His backstory, he's had a life of struggles. We're going to have a talk to him this morning about overcoming some of those. And when he was only 9, he lost his father to a drug overdose. So after his father's death, James was on medication for sleep disorder, stress. He went on to Stanford Medical Center, where he was diagnosed with Tourette's and Asperger syndrome. And, at first, James seemed concerned about Tourette's getting in the forefront of the judges and letting his nerves take over. And after he finished his song, and I really remember this, because I thought, wow, that was amazing. Jennifer Lopez actually remarked, "You go away when you sing." And James said, "I do. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with Tourette's. When I sing, it just goes away like I don't have a care in the world." And I think that's awesome, because, music does heal. And it heals in so many different ways. It's amazing for him.
I wonder if that's factored into Tourette therapy in some way now.
Very possible. Shall we try and get James on the line?
Yeah. Emphasis on try. Stand by.
Okay. So in the meantime, I've got my daughter in the studio this morning, don't I? Don't I, honey? You want to say hello? Go on, say hello.
Hello.
Say good morning.
Morning.
What's your name?
Good morning.
Good morning. This is James.
Yes, it is.
Good morning, James. This is Adrian, Paul, and Ethan Dettenmaier on Peace Fun Radio. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Great. How about yourself?
Oh, awesome. I saw you on, I thought it was, I just mentioned something on what Jennifer Lopez remarked about when you go away when you sing. And I remember seeing that. I thought it was amazing. So all power to you. How are things for you right now?
Things are good. Things are real good. Just hanging out with our 5-month-old daughter.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got my daughter in the studio for the first time ever this morning. She's sitting there smiling awesome. At the moment. Yeah, but it does change as time goes over. 5 months goes to a year, and then suddenly 2 years and 5 years happen, and you don't know what happened.
Suddenly you're thinking of things that have happened in the past, and your wife tells you, "Honey, that was 4 years ago." You're tripping.
That is so true. And everybody always tells you, make sure you take pictures, because those memories, you won't remember them.
Yeah, we take pictures every day.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good thing, because when I was a kid, a lot of parents didn't take quite as many pictures, and because the photos, the iPhones and all those things that are so readily available now, you had to have those big cameras. You had to walk around with film in it. So it was like entirely different, stage of life that was. So a little different.
I miss my old rectangle, skinny, camera with the film in it, and taking it to get developed and waiting a week. There was so much to it.
I thought you were too young for that. What were you, like 5 when that happened?
I was born in '89, so.
Oh, okay.
I still got 1 year in the 80s under my belt, but of course the 80s weren't over until about 96, 97 maybe.
Yeah, I know. So how are things for you after American Idol? Has things changed a lot for you?
Yeah, things are great. Just touring, making music, making records, and just being a rocker, man. It's been fun.
So I know, you've overcome a lot of hurdles in your life, and you were diagnosed with Asperger and Tourette syndromes when you were young, and how have you become able to sort of overcome this challenge? One of the things, especially you're a rock star now, so many people associate those types of things with a rock star. They think, all these people are perfect and blah blah blah. So how does it work for you?
Well, for me, when I went into Idol and went into the whole audition process, I was doing it for myself. I was doing it for myself and my family. And there was a certain point, it came to a certain point, I believe it was Songs from Movies Week, and I was singing Heavy Metal by Sammy Hagar, and got Zakk Wylde to come in. It was a very emotional week for me, because I was having a very strong disagreement with Jimmy Iovine from Interscope, and
as things happen, that's normal. Yeah, go ahead.
As things happen, if you're going to butt heads with anybody, you might as well be like the biggest music record executive ever. And so it was real stressful, real emotional for me. And around that same time, during that same week of rehearsing and recording that song and getting ready for the live performance, I got a call from the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they said, "We've got someone coming to see you. His wish is to see you, is to hang out with you, because he relates to you. If he dies tomorrow, he wants to know that he got to spend his last time with his family and with you." And that just really broke down barriers for me and made me realize that, okay, this is a TV show. Yes, I came here because I got laid off of my job and I'm having trouble affording diapers for my kids. Mm-hmm. Yes, but I'm not here for myself. Everything happens for a reason, I believe, and I believe that the stars will align in some sort of way, and energy manifests itself in really spectacular ways, and if you blink you can miss it. And thank God my eyes were open at that exact moment, and I got to be somebody's wish. And I realized then and there that this isn't for me. It is the singing, the performing, it's what I love to do. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. But the real reason that I'm here is because I'm inspiring people. I am what I never had as a kid. Growing up with Asperger's, which is high-functioning autism, and Tourette syndrome, which is a neurological disorder, I didn't have anybody to look up to and say, like, hey, that person's exactly like me. I can look up to them and say, I'm going to be okay. Well, I didn't have that. And now I get to be that for other people, for kids, for adults even, that see that, I'm married, I have 2 kids, I, am perfectly able to get the job done despite what disables me maybe mentally a little bit, or thought process.
I think you hit something on the head a minute ago. I think when something comes out of the blue for you, I think a lot of the time, and that's happened to me a lot in my career. You don't expect it because you're on a certain path, and something comes in from left field that makes you stop for a second. And I always believe that your legacy in this life, fame will come and go. It doesn't matter. I don't care who it is. It will come and go. The biggest stars, the biggest stars out there. Some people will remember them, but it changes over 30 years, 40 years. You will be forgotten. I hate to say that, but most people will be. But what you do in this life, what you leave, what you change in people's lives, will be your legacy, and that will live on. So, I think very much what you've just said is very important for people to understand.
Thank you. I believe that fame is it's a made-up word. There's nothing real about it. There's just like reality TV. It's a made-up. It's a name. It's a label. There's nothing real about it. It's all scripted. The real things that matter is what you do with this spotlight put on you, even if it's for 15 seconds of fame or 15 minutes, whatever it's called. That's what reality TV gives you, and it's a TV show, and it's a platform, and it's a mouthpiece that if you can find the good in the reason that you're there and have an outstanding impression on people, then they'll remember you for that. I'm very thankful and very lucky that I have a strong fan base, and that Idol has, given me that. I feel like I've earned it through it, but Idol gave me that platform to do so.
Now, I can hear, is it your daughter? Did you say your daughter?
Yeah.
I can hear her in the background. It's okay. What's her name?
Her name's Kinsey Cruz.
Kinsey Cruz. Cruz. Hi, Kenzie. Hi, Kenzie. So listen, why is it important for people to focus on job opportunities and training for young adults on autism?
1 in 68 people are diagnosed with autism. So wow. There's going to be, let's see, what's the statistics? I believe in the next year, 50,000 people with autism will turn 18, and most of them will not get jobs because employers, let's face it, employers have a hard time enough picking from all of the capable people that there are in the country and in the world, and they pretty much overlook the people with autism. For Autism Awareness Month, Microsoft actually started employing people with autism because they believe that they get the job done better and faster. So, if more companies see what Microsoft has done and lead by example, then, that's just the beginning. I know for myself, growing up in school and stuff, especially someone that's in either a special education class or just a learning development class or needs extra help or and any of that, then you kind of miss out on learning any skills. And I believe that as someone with autism, that it's a developmental disorder. And if you skip out on the development, the day-to-day, the learning new skills, the learning of basically how to take care of yourself, how to do light gardening or home ec, any of that stuff, like it's you really miss out on a lot of stuff. So it's really important. We're doing Temple Grandin and Friends at Nokia Theater, Nokia Live. Club Nokia at LA Live next Wednesday, May 20th. And I'll be performing. I'm the headliner. There's a bunch of great performers, all of them with autism, somewhere on the spectrum. We have animators with autism. Everyone that's doing the lighting and production has autism. The presenters have autism. And then Dr. Temple Grandin, she'll be speaking on the subject as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. And as soon as I heard Temple Grandin was a part of it, it was really easy for me to say, yeah, I'm there. Let's do it.
I want to go back to something you were talking about a second ago. You're talking about how, there are so many qualified people in this country to take over those jobs for people that are not, that have some sort of disability. We have been dealing with education for the past month, and unfortunately, the statistics for education in this country are scary because the actual people that graduate, the United States is now 34th in the world in education. So that might not be necessarily true, that the qualified people might come from, as you mentioned before, autistic children or people with some sort of disability, because they will be able to get the qualifications. I mean, we've dealt a lot with people with disabilities on the show, and we've talked about autism before, and we realised that autism really has not really come to the forefront except for the past 20 years. Before it was jumbled into all the other so-called mental disabilities for people, rather than actually being diagnosed as a specific type of disability for people. So now people are like, whoa, autism was on the rise. Not necessarily. It's possibly that it was just lumped in with so many other disabilities that children were faced with that it went unnoticed how prevalent it actually was.
Yeah, I think that our society as a whole kind of just decides to do that with things. If you don't understand it, lump it into a category with other things that you don't understand, instead of taking the time to, dig in a little further. Also, the U.S., we are so, I feel like there's such an importance and such urgency labeled on being the best and being the strongest and the most athletic and everything. And, I think that I know that everyone's on a different level. No two people are going to be on the exact same level. Just like no two people play the blues the same way. Mm-hmm. Life is the blues, and you got to learn to roll with it. Yeah. So it's I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about the life is the blues and how no two people are on the same same level. They're on the same level.
Yeah. So. I think that the problem is, or the solution is to start focusing on people as a whole. Everybody is individual, everybody is different, everyone learns at a different level. Instead of, if you don't understand someone, you take them out of the regular class and put them in a special ed class. That doesn't solve the problem. That just eliminates it for a minute. It just turns the levels down.
So what advice would you give people with autism or their loved ones about pursuing their own dreams? Because obviously you had that, and it was daunting, I suppose, to go on to in front of the American Idol judges.
Yeah, absolutely. I got asked this question last week, and I'll try to I'll try to give it as good an answer as I did then. But it's autism is a developmental disorder, and which means that you need to focus on things today. Focus on your struggles today. If you worry about what's going to happen next week, or the test in a month, or graduating, or if your kid's going to be able to get a job or have a family or any of that stuff, that's all in the future. You know, if you put too much worry on what's going to come in 10 years, you miss out on what's going to come tomorrow and what's going to happen tomorrow. I look at having autism like they make Lego sets these days. And I like this reference because it's relatable for kids and people with autism, because we love our Legos. So Lego sets nowadays, well, let me say, Lego sets, even 10 years ago, they came in a box. And you pour out the box, you have, 500 odd pieces and an instruction booklet. And it tells you, okay, now you have to sift through 500 pieces to find the next step. Well, nowadays they start putting them in levels. Your pack is levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have a Star Wars X-Wing set. It has like 12 levels. It's awesome. And so you start with your level 1 pack. It's the first steps. It's the baby steps. And it keeps going and going, and you open up a different bag when you're ready to do it. And that's how I feel autism should be treated. Focus on what's important now. Focus on what your child or you or anybody is focusing on now. Because if you skip it, you're missing a piece. You're missing your development. It's a developmental disorder. Just accept what level your kid is on now. I have to struggle with it every day. I don't know if my son has autism or not. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference to me. We have to focus on what level he's on right now, and not what level he's going to be on tomorrow or next week or next school year. It's all about now. It's like people say, live life to the fullest. Well, treat your kid's life to the fullest today and give them the full attention that they need today. Yeah. For me, I had teachers throughout my life. It wasn't always my mom or my family. Most of the time, it was someone that just saw that I was in need. Like I had a community theater teacher when I was about 15 or 16, and she noticed that I was autistic, or she noticed that I was different, noticed my tics and my Tourette's and stuff, and she went and talked to my mother, and my mom told her, and so she went out of her way to learn about it. She looked online, she picked up a couple books at the library. Remember the library, kids? Wow, so dated. and she went out of her way to help me for no other reason than to see me grow. And because she knew that I was capable of it. She saw what I was on stage and how I was able to interact with people and emote and connect with an audience. And when I was off stage, I couldn't maintain eye contact or hold down a conversation with anyone. So she helped me to take what I was on stage and bring it to my personality off stage. And that's how I'm even able to hold interviews and be on camera and perform in front of an audience and then get off stage and take pictures with disabled kids and talk to them on a one-on-one, eye-to-eye level. And for that, I'm eternally grateful because it's given me my life.
Well, I want to. You were talking about facts before, so I'm going to. For those of you that just joined us, we're talking about autism with James Durbin at the moment, and what I want to give you some facts about that. You mentioned before about 1 in 68 children have been identified with Autism Spectrum Disorder, which is ASD, according to estimates from the CDC's Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network. About 1% of the world's population has this autism spectrum disorder, and ASD is almost 5 times more common in boys, which is 1 in 42, than it is among girls, which is 1 in 189. 35% of young adults ages between 19 to 23 with autism have not had a job or received postgraduate education after leaving high school. Autism is the fastest growing developmental disorder in the US and costs a family about $60,000 a year on average. And there's no medical detection or cure for autism, with about 50,000 children turning 18 within 2 years, and less than half of them will have paying jobs, the lowest rate of any disabled group of Americans. I mean, what kind of future will these young adults have? And I think, it's important for us to actually tell people what it is, because a lot of people don't know what autism is about. I mean, it comes under the Autism Spectrum Disorders comes under 5 childhood onset conditions, which are known as pervasive developmental disorders. Can't say that. And some, the most common PDDs are autism, Asperger's, and pervasive developmental disorder. But most people, are affected by the milder variants of Asperger's syndrome, sometimes called high functioning autism, which I believe is that what you've been diagnosed as, James?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with that when I was 10.
Right. And they basically say that only 20% on the autism spectrum have classical autism. The overwhelming majority fall in the category that you were diagnosed in, James. I want to bring on right now also John Beerley, who's he brings us our child heroes of the week, and we're going to bring on another young guest this morning, who's or his father, whose young boy has. I'll let John. John, are you there this morning?
Yes. Good morning, Adrian and Ethan, and James. Welcome to Peace Fund Radio. We're honored to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to be on the show every week. I probably feel the way you did when Judas Priest joined you on stage on American Idol. I can't believe I'm with these guys. It's really great.
Yeah, I can't believe this is actually happening. This is awesome.
Well, Adrian had mentioned earlier in the show that we had touched on autism before on Peace Fund Radio. We had Rick Mora, Native American humanitarian and entertainer, who's been on our guest a couple of times. He does a lot of work for autism awareness. We also had Don Stark from That 70s Show and lots of other film and television appearances, who also has done a lot of work with autism as well. He was on back in May of 2013 and talked about some of the work that he does. And, we've also had, we have a hero of the week every week, which is a young person who's done something incredible to make the world better, happier, healthier, safer. We had one of our heroes named Drew Elliott, who was a young boy with autism, 8 years old. He was sitting in a cafeteria with his mother, and he was really upset because he had a Best Friends Forever bracelet where he wears one half of it, and he was asking other kids in his class if they would wear the other half of the bracelet. And all of the other kids told him no. He was very upset. And it just so happened that there's a table of 13 construction workers sitting at the table beside them. And they saw how upset Drew was. So these construction workers walk over to the table and say, "Hey, buddy, we'll be your friend on one condition. You have to make us one of those bracelets." So Drew made 12 bracelets for these construction workers, and it sort of became this thing where he gets a Facebook page, and suddenly he's making, these incredible little friendship bracelets for people around the world. And he's done a lot to increase acceptance and awareness for autism, just like today's hero of the week, which is another incredible story, which we will be bringing to you very soon. We'll be talking to this young man's father. This week's Peace Fund Radio Hero of the Week is 12-year-old Alex Hummel from Sinking Springs, Pennsylvania. Just like the children we've been talking about on today's show, Alex was diagnosed with Autism Spectrum Disorder in 2009. In March of 2012, when Alex was just 9 years old, he and his parents, Kyle and Vicky, founded their very own nonprofit organization called Keystone Iron Warriors, which you can find online at KeystoneIronWarriors.com and on Twitter at Iron Warriors Inc. That's at Iron Warriors INC. They support U.S. military veterans and active duty servicemen and women who suffer from amputations, burns and other injuries, and post-traumatic stress disorder. They do it in a very unique way. Alex has received a congressional citation and special recognition from House Speaker John Boehner for his work with veterans. And his father, Kyle, a recently retired police officer, is joining us this morning to talk about Alex's latest projects and tell us what inspired his son to work so hard to make a difference.
Thank you, John. I had to jump out of the studio for 2 seconds. My daughter needed to go to the bathroom.
Luckily, I'm long-winded, Adrian.
See, this is what happens, James. When you have children, the most unexpected thing happens at the most unopportune times.
Well, Adrian knows I'm long-winded, so we knew it was a safe time to go.
I'd say that could be pretty expected.
Yes, yes. They're just in the middle of somewhere. So even though they say no, do you want to go? No, I don't. No, but anyway, let me just give another shout out to another organisation that's actually making a difference in the life of children that have been diagnosed with autism. Autism Speaks, which is www.autismspeaks.org, was founded in 2005 by Bob and Susan Wright, grandparents of a child with autism. Their longtime friend Bernie Marcus donated $25 million to help financially launch the organisation, and since then they've grown into the world's leading autism science and advocacy organisation dedicated to funding research into the causes, prevention, treatments and a cure for autism. So please check them out if any of you are interested in finding out more about the this disorder. While we wait for the call, I think he's calling in, isn't he, Ethan? In about 2 minutes.
We can try to call him.
Okay, we'll try calling him. Go ahead, you can call him now. Yeah, why don't we call him now? Because as what happens, James, in our show, we suddenly find we're out of time before we've actually done half the things we want to cover. It always happens every single week, so I don't want to miss, some of the things. Just tell us a little bit more about the event next week when you're going to be actually performing at.
Yeah, it's May 20th. There's tickets and more information is available at templegrandinandfriends.com. There's a whole countdown to when the event happens. There's a lineup of who will be performing. There's an art show during a VIP meet and greet with Temple Grandin and myself. And I'll be displaying and selling some of my artwork there as well. And like I said, everyone that's involved with it, down to the lighting and production team, sound, hair and makeup, and everyone that's performing is somewhere on the autism spectrum. You mentioned Autism Speaks. We have Matt and Ed Asner are getting awards there. Dr. Temple Grandin's getting an award there. So it's a very, very great event.
I think we just had a quick call in to.
Hello.
Hello, is this Kyle?
Speaking.
Hi, good morning. You're on Peace Fund Radio. This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, and we have James Durbin as well on the show this morning. Good morning. How are you?
Yes, sir. Good morning. It's kind of funny you say good morning because it's good afternoon here.
What part of the country are you in?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
I just came back from kind of that area. I was in Philly. John has been telling us this morning about your son, and Keystone Iron Warriors started because of Alex wanting to help veterans in need. How did he first come to you with this idea?
Alexander was watching TV with my wife and I one night, and a commercial came on about wounded soldiers, and Alexander looked at us with tears in his eyes. And we've never seen tears from Alex because Alex doesn't really show much emotion with his ASD. And he was crying and he said, "Daddy, we really need to help these guys. They're our heroes. They're our soldiers." And I said, "Okay, buddy, what do you want to do?" He says, "Well, we need to give a lot of money because they need it." I said, "Okay, well, let's go on the website and make a donation." And he goes, "Well, Daddy, I gave a $50 donation," and he looked at me and goes, "Daddy, we need to give more." And, at the time being a police officer, I'm like, "Well, we make so much money, I can only give so much." So he goes, "Well, why don't we have our own foundation, like how we do motorcycle rides and how we always give money to the soldiers?" And I said, "Okay." So we looked into creating our own nonprofit organization. That's how it came about.
So what do the Keystone Iron Warriors do to help veterans?
We hold events. We hold a lot of fundraisers, small fundraisers. We also accept donations on our website. And what we do is we supply the veteran, either a canine companion, emotional support canine, or a fully certified service canine. And, we pay for these dogs. Some of these dogs cost us up to $5,000 a piece when all the training is completed. So, ultimately, we like to, our goal is to empower these veterans and their families, strengthen their quality of life, educate the community. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you have any particular stories that once these dogs have been rescued, obviously, is there an example of how one of these canines changed the life of one of the veterans you helped?
Yes, we helped a veteran in Kentucky. We received a phone call on Memorial Day of last year, and he was a sergeant first class in the Army, and he called us up crying, stating that he read about our organization, and he's been through other organizations that supply service canine, but he never receives calls back. And so he sent us all the information. We approved him, and long story short, when he received his canine, he left his house for the first time in 3 years because he felt trapped. He felt like everyone in the public was out to get him. But this canine provided him independence to go out and enjoy life. He was no longer scared to leave the house.
James, I think what has that effect actually had on Alex? I mean, this type of work. What do you think that's done for him?
What happens with Alex is he feels more independent now. He's come out of his shell. He communicates better with the public. He no longer feels trapped or scared to actually show emotion. He can show emotion now, whereas before he would cling to his mother and I, and not knowing how to deal with everyday public. So that's how it's affected him.
This question is for James. James, I take it you're still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, Alex's work with Keystone Iron Warriors has brought some attention to autism. Is it important for people that have this disease? I say this. I hate the word disease. It's not the right word. This disability to bring attention to autism, and how would they do? I mean, what advice would you give them, or give their parents or their loved ones?
I wonder, how old is Alex?
Alex is 12.
He's 12?
Yes, sir.
That's so awesome. I mean, the proof is in the pudding right here, is that kids with autism, anybody with autism, they're extraordinary. If you're on the autism spectrum, your mind works in many different ways than, Joe Schmo sitting next to you. I mean, he's 12 years old, and he already wants to do something that makes a real difference, but it's not for himself. I believe that people with autism, they think more universal. I don't look at autism as a disorder. I look at it as an evolutionary advantage.
Agreed.
There's ways that our brains work differently that work against us, but so do people who don't have any sort of spectrum disorder or anything, whose brains work perfectly fine. They make some of the worst decisions in the world. So I believe in autism, and I believe that however you bring attention to it in a positive way is good for the society of people that have it, and for people that don't have it to better understand it.
I think there's an interesting. You talked about evolution, and I don't know if you guys have actually seen. There's a video online. There was a young man who had autism in England, and he was put on a helicopter and was flown for, I think it was 35 minutes over the city of Rome. He then spent the next 3 weeks redrawing the entire city in perfect detail. Now, we're talking perfect detail. He missed 2 things in the Colosseum, which is the hardest architectural structure in the world to draw. And this young man was able to redraw this entire city, including windows, cars, people, etc., that were in that. So who's to say what the brain is doing and how it's evolving as to whether or not this is a disability or a new ability that we are being given through the evolution of the human race? So to me, I think we have to be a little bit open into what is going on here, and to actually go into it a little bit further. Now, also going to go into Kyle. This is a question for you. That was just my statement here, guys. Kyle, I've just read on your Twitter page that you're going somewhere special this Friday. What is that? Where is that? Can you share that?
We were invited to the White House.
Wow.
Nice.
It's fantastic.
Received information that we get to go to the White House, and this is not the first time Alex has been recognized by someone in Washington, D.C. Alex has received a congressional citation, and he's also received a letter of accommodation by the Speaker of the House as well. So even our leaders of the United States are recognizing what our son is doing and continues to do is just extraordinary.
You know, I think it's extraordinary I think it's fantastic that they're actually being recognised by the government of the United States because, children are really amazing entities. They don't know the meaning of no. When your son came to you and said, I want to raise money for this, we need a lot of money to raise for it, it's an easy, simple solution to him. For us, we go, how on earth are we going to raise that? What are we going to do with it? I mean, I can't do that. But children don't know what no means. And I think it's important, and I've said this many times on this show, that the adults and the parents and the people that are there need to be supportive and say, well, let's try it. If you think you can do it, I'll support you in doing that. And you'll be amazed with the results. And so I think, all power to you as well, Carl, because I think, being Alex's father, you had to support him in actually doing what he wanted to achieve.
Correct. He had a dream, he had a vision, and I told him, I said, I will not stop until your dream is met and your vision is being followed, and we continue to do that every day with Iron Warriors.
Well, one last question for you, Carl. Do you have any advice for people who might be thinking of starting their own charity organization? Yes,
it's not an easy road. It's really tough. There's a lot of red tape, a lot of forms to fill out. And it takes a lot of money, and luckily we were blessed by a local business to fund our trek to a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, because it is very expensive. But it takes a lot of determination, a lot of will, and don't ever take no for an answer.
Well, Carl, thank you for joining us today. Please say thank you to Alex that he is Peace Fund Heroes. He's Peace Fund Radio's Hero of the Week this week. Thank you for your hard work and for what you're doing for the veterans, and thank you for your service as a police officer. So,
thank you.
Please hope to hear from you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Carl. So, James, we do this every week. We have a young hero that comes on, we find out what they're doing, and we actually highlight it because I think it's very important to do that because, our kids are really the ones that are really the forefronts of actually putting a lot of this stuff forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I forget who said it in what song, but I believe that the children are our future.
Oh, don't you? Oh, come on. That was
Whitney.
Whitney?
Was it
okay,
Whitney?
I thought it was Whitney, but I didn't want to come out as bad.
No. Sorry, guys. The original was George Benson.
Well, thank you, George Benson.
Our children are our future.
Wherever you are, we salute you.
Yeah, seriously, that was one of my favorite songs, actually. So that's why when you mentioned that, I'm lousy at knowing singers and songs and people's names, but there are certain things in life that I remember. That was one of them. So thank you for bringing it up.
Speaking of singers and songs, James, you have a new album, right?
I'm working on my third one right now. I've put out two already in 2011. On November 21st, I put out Memories of a Beautiful Disaster. And then on April 8th of 2014, I put out Celebrate.
So what label did you put them under?
I put them out under Wind Up Records. And funny thing that I actually realized about the days that I put out my records, on April 8th, that is the day that I met my wife in 2008. April 8th, 2008 is when I met my wife. So I released Celebrate in 2014 on that day. And then my daughter was just born November 21st, which is the day that I put out my first record. So it's pretty cool correlations there.
There's a certain synergy happening there, right?
There definitely is. I'm trying to figure out when to put out my next one.
Well, James, I want to thank you for joining us this morning because I know your time's valuable, and you've got a little daughter. How many children do you have?
We have 2 now. So Kinsey is just about 6 months old. She'll be 6 months on the 21st, and our son Hunter just turned 6 on May 1st.
Right, and before you leave, Temple Grandin and Friends is an event on May 20th that you'll be performing. What songs are you going to be performing at that event?
I'll probably perform, I think I'm doing 6 or 7 songs. I'll do some new ones that no one's ever heard before. I'll be playing some cuts from Memories of a Beautiful Disaster and Celebrate, maybe a cover. I know that they have a baby grand piano, and I'm not a pianist, but I dabble on the keys, so I might get up off of that thing and do something on there as well. A rare glimpse of me behind the black and whites. We'll see what happens.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, James, and continue your work with the autism disabilities that you're doing. I wish you all the best on your career, because I think you're a very talented young man. And I can say that now that I'm older. I used to wouldn't be able to say young man before. But anyway, but thank you for joining us this morning, and I hope the event is a success, and I look forward to perhaps Peace Fund highlighting you and your organization again. Right on.
I really appreciate you guys having me, and I'd love to come back. And yeah, everybody check out TempleGrandinandFriends.com for ticketing info, and you can find me at Durbin Rock, DURBINROCK, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.com/Durbin Rock.
Fabulous. I'll start following you on Twitter as well.
Thank you.
I'll put you over there on Twitter, and then we'll also put all those links on our sites. You'll find them on the Peace Fund Radio Facebook site, and it will be on our blog. So you'll be able to hear that, and this show as well will be you'll be able to hear it again if you didn't catch it all in its entirety. James, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Right on, anytime. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting, very talented young man, I think, there, John, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Did you see him on American Idol?
And he's doing a lot to bring attention and awareness to a very important issue to a lot of families out there.
And I think
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand that, people like him, any celebrity that actually do something like that, it's important because they're really highlighting something either that was very personal to them or something that they believe in, that they have their fans, and they people stand up and listen when somebody of note or somebody that has had some sort of success in any field, whether it's TV, film, music, whatever, they start saying, well, I think you should take a look at this, and it really helps organizations, even like the Peace Fund, to be brought to the public attention. We've got 2 minutes left in the show. As per normal, I told you that it was going to go, and I haven't even gone through half of the things about social challenges or the communication difficulties or repetitive behaviours that are associated with the Autism Spectrum Disorder. So maybe we'll be doing another show on this. I know there are several other celebrities out there that will be interested in this, so we'll be contacting them again. But this month we are actually dealing with children with disabilities, so we'll be bringing you that and bringing you some very interesting people to talk about that, because there are very good organizations out there that are actually handling these questions, I would put them, rather than disabilities. John, do you have anything else before we leave as to what we need to sort of highlight currently?
Very quickly, I wanted to say everybody go to KeystoneIronWarriors.com, which is the website of our Hero of the Week today. They have recently partnered with Catworks Incorporated for a new program called Operation Pause for Freedom, in which they are pairing animals who have been rescued from shelters, animals who have, different physical disabilities of their own, who are being saved from shelters and trained to be companions and service dogs for veterans and active duty personnel who are having various issues or problems. It's fantastic. I'd like to thank our own Kimberly O'Keefe from the Peace Fund for bringing the Hummel family to my attention so we could bring them here on the show. Follow us at The Peace Fund and at Peace Fund Radio on Twitter. We're also on Facebook, the web, thepeacefund.org, and our blog, blog.thepeacefund.org.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Kimberly as well, because she was the one that actually brought us with the text to donate that we actually ran for the past 2 weeks. It was very successful for us, and the winner for that was Marty Lloyd, whose donation was accepted on May 5th. That has been posted on all our sites, and Marty will get his autographed katana very shortly. We'll be running another one in another couple of weeks with another great prize, maybe one you don't expect. So thank you for doing that for those of you. And for lastly, we also have the wall, don't we, John, on our Facebook site?
Yes.
Yes. Which actually goes to donating to Peace Fund Radio to keep it alive, to keep it moving, to keep it bringing you all these different things. So check that out. John, can you give a little bit of information on that?
You can find the link at thepeacefund.org on our front page. Just click on the Peace Fund supporter wall, and you can put your picture on the supporter wall in exchange for a donation. Donations of $250 or more will allow you to choose a particular radio show date to sponsor, and we will read your name on the air, and Ethan has already promised to read whatever message that you would like. Do it for yourself, do it in memory of a loved one, do it for a friend's birthday. It's a great way to make a dedication to someone in your life who's made a difference in your own life, and also to support the stories that we bring you every week here on the show.
Fabulous. Thank you, John. I'll talk to you again. Thank you to all of you that I met this week in Philly, and for donating to the Peace Fund, www.thepeacefund.org. And in closing, a quote by Albert Einstein: "Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid." This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier. We'll talk to you again next week.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.